Welcome back. The trade deadline is among us. We get the All-Star break in a couple weeks, and then after that, we get the trade deadline at the end of July. There's a lot of guys that are probably going to be moved around, a lot of hot commodities throughout the league. Where's Luis Robert going to be traded to? Ryan McMahon of the Rockies is probably going to be moved as well. Are the Cubs going to maybe move on from a few guys where they're struggling? We got the Blue Jays that are in mixes to maybe move on from a few guys. The Rays, I could see maybe move on from a few guys as well. But I believe the Los Angeles Angels have a lot of guys that could be moved at the deadline. And in today's video, we're going to take a bit of a deep dive into their second baseman, Luis Rengifo. Now, I do say second baseman. He has been more of a utility guy the last few years. When he first came up in 2019, he was almost primarily second base. He did play 12 games at shortstop. 2020, more so second base throughout the entire year. 2021, he was more of a third baseman and a shortstop. This year, he's playing a lot more third base, but he has played right field. He's played left field. He has played 4 games in center field last year as well. So whatever team he's going to go to, you're probably going to get somebody that you can fit in anywhere that you need him to play. Now I'm going to look at his Baseball Savant page. I love looking at Savant pages. When you look at Luis Rengifo, it might not really stand out to you because I'll just let the graphics show what I'm trying to say here. There's a lot of blue, and if you're looking at Baseball Savant, usually if you see there at the top it says the blue means poor, towards the middle is average, and then the more red means that they're great at each aspect of their play. Luis Rengifo has a lot of blue on his Baseball Savant page. Now, I do like to look at a little bit of both. Like, I like to look at analytical side, and I like to look at I like to actually be able to watch the player. Whenever you think about the old head mentality, whenever it comes to baseball, if you get a base hit, if you drive in runs, if you hit home runs, that's all you need. Runs are what wins baseball games, and I completely understand that. But when you do look at some of the advanced statistics and the advanced analytics, Luis Rengifo is the type of player that he might be a bit of a lucky, not merchant. I'm not going to say merchant, but he is a little bit lucky this year. Expected batting average this season is at 269 right now. The reason that I made this video is because he is currently leading the American League in batting average at 315. Expected batting average is 269, so that means that he has had a lot of lucky at-bats this year, whether it means that it's a weak, it could be like a weak dribbler in the infield, or it could be a really poor hit that may have just blooped over somebody's head that most times or not, he's probably not going to get a base hit off of those hits, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, depends on the defender that is maybe playing the ball that he has hit. So he's hitting 315 on the year, but an expected batting average of 269. His expected slugging is 370. Average exit velo is also in the 21 percentile at 87, which means he's not really driving the ball exceptionally well. Bat speed at 21 as well, so he's not really exceptionally well at getting the bat around that quick. Barrel percentage at 6%, so he's not really hitting it at the prime spot of the barrel either. He's one of the worst in the league when it comes to that. Whiff percentage is also pretty good. I'm gonna play a little bit of devil's advocate whenever it comes to this, but I do wanna put credit where credit is due. 65 percentile in whiff percentage, so he doesn't whiff an exceptionally big amount. 92 percentile on K percentage, so he doesn't strike out a shit ton either, you know what I mean? His walk percentage, like I did mention before, he used to be somebody last year, his walk percentage was a lot higher. It has dipped down a bit this year, so I do believe last year was maybe a little bit of an anomaly. But 12% walk rate, 12 percentile on walk rate is obviously not very good, but, take what you can get, right? Now, he is somebody who clearly he is in the 1 percentile on defense, and -7 outs above average. That means that no matter where you can put him, this is probably why he is a utility type player, because he doesn't exceed exceptionally well in one position and one position only. You do kind of need his bat. His bat is a positive bat in the league, so the Angels are trying to fit him in there because he does have a positive bat in the league, but his defense is atrocious. 1 percentile, so right now he is considered the worst defender in the league on outs above average. His arm strength, league average, 51 percentile, not too bad. Sprint speed, he's a little bit below average at 40 percentile on sprint speed, so he's not the quickest player in the league either. Now, if you look at his baseball reference page and you kind of look at more of the base statistics, you will see that he has been some player that the last few years, 2022 he hit 17 home runs, 22 doubles. Last year, 16 home runs, 15 doubles. He hit 264 in back-to-back seasons. From 2022, he went from a 292 on base percentage to last year a 340. So that is a huge difference. That's the biggest thing that stands out to me is from 2022 to last year, his walks went from 17 to 41. So he, completely changed his approach at the plate. His OPS plus in back-to-back seasons was above league average, a 102 and then a 111. This year, his OPS is at 808 and an OPS plus of 126. Also, stolen bases. I don't know if he's been coming off an injury or something last year, and all of a sudden he's got 20 stolen bases this year. Somebody who at career high previously was 6 stolen bases. So far, it's not even July, and he's got 20 this year. I think that's kind of crazy and something to look at as well. But whenever we're thinking about some team that could go out and maybe get Luis Rengifo, we're talking about a 27-year-old guy. He's not going to be your best hitter on your team by any means, but he is going to be somebody that can provide at least some type of offense for you. He could maybe go out there and finish 15, 20 home runs in the year. You don't really know what you're going to get whenever it comes to walk rate, when it comes to strikeout rate. I mean, he's decent at both. Like, he's not gonna blow you out of the water. I do think he is a decent little trade asset though for the Angels. I mean, the Angels are a team that they have a lot of guys right now that I think they should go in a full rebuild. Doesn't matter. I'm not even looking at Mike Trout. I'm talking about Luis Rengifo, Taylor Ward. They got some pitchers that they could move on from as well. Carlos Estevez in the bullpen is somebody that I think should be looked at immensely. I think he's been exceptionally well as of late, and the Angels should probably move on from him. You're looking at Luis Rengifo as somebody that you're going to be able to fit him in anywhere. If you need somebody that's a bit of a utility guy, you're not going to obviously get anything insane defensively from him, but he does have a plus bat. He's not a bad hitter by any means. Right now, he might be leading the American League in batting average, but he might be a little bit lucky. But, I mean, luck only goes so far, right? Like, he is still a good hitter. Even a 269 expected batting average is still good for the league. Now, when we're talking about teams that could go out and get him, if I had to narrow it down to 3 teams that could go out and get Luis Rengifo, I'm going to go with the Mariners, the Royals, and the Reds. Now, here is why for each team. The Mariners are in the same league as the Angels, so I don't really know if it's going to be an in-division trade. We don't see that often. I mean, yes, we do see it once in a while. The Mariners have an insane farm system, one of the best farm systems in the entire league. Their offense is one of the worst in the league right now, and I think they could benefit from having somebody like Luis Rengifo. And like I said, whatever you want to say about how lucky he has been all year, whatever, he is somebody that could still hit 270, 280, and that is something that the Mariners do need on their team. Royals as well, they have a lot of young guys that they could probably move on from as well. They have a good team this year. I don't really know if they are a team that is set to maybe contend this year, but Luis Rengifo, I believe he's not a free agent until 2026, so you're going to have a couple years of control for him. The Royals are a good team right now, and they're not an insane offensive team right now either. Bobby Witt, Salvador Perez, Vinny Pasquantino, really the only guys doing anything insane offensively, so they could maybe bring in somebody like Luis Rengifo on a team that is already an insanely good defensive team. Fitting in somebody like Luis Rengifo and his poor defense isn't really going to hurt you that much. I kind of look at the Reds the same way as I look at the Royals. The Reds aren't a very big contending team this year. I don't really know if they're going to go out there and maybe make some big trades and bring in some big guys and make a big push in the second half. But once again, Luis Rengifo is somebody with a couple years of control. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's not a free agent until 2026. So if they bring in Luis Rengifo, they'll have him for a couple more seasons. And he is somebody, once again, the Reds offense is not insanely good right now. They do have a decent defensive team right now as well. So if they bring in somebody like Luis Rengifo, he could also help them offensively, which I think is something that they do need. I'm not saying that the list stops there. I do think a lot of other teams could probably go out and call him. I think the Mets could maybe use him. I think the Cardinals could maybe use him. I think, the Twins could maybe use him. There's a few other teams around the league that could probably benefit from somebody like Luis Rengifo. Like I said, he's not going to be a great defender. He might not be the best offensive player for you, but right now he is leading the American League. Say what you want, the stats are there. He's leading the American League in batting average. He is also somebody that's got 20 stolen bases on the year. He has improved in the walk rate aspect as well of his game in the last few seasons. So say what you want, Luis Rengifo could be a good hot commodity at the deadline.